My daughter was sitting beside me at the kitchen table, swinging her legs under the chair like she always did when she was nervous, quiet, observant, pretending she wasn't watching the adults. My father stood behind me, close enough that I could smell his cologne. He set a fresh cup of coffee in front of me with the same performative kindness he used in public, the kind that made strangers think he was a generous man. Then my daughter tugged my sleeve, small fingers, urgent. Mom, she whispered, eyes wide, don't drink that. I turned my head slightly, careful not to make it obvious. What? I murmured. She leaned closer, voice shaking. Grandpa poured something into it. I saw it. He did it when you looked away. My hand hovered over the cup. The coffee looked normal. Steam rising, dark surface, faint reflection of the ceiling light. Nothing floating, nothing strange. But my daughter wasn't the kind of child who made things up. She was the kind who noticed things adults missed. Who could tell you which neighbor's dog barked at night and which one didn't? Who remembered details because she didn't feel safe enough to relax? I set my hand on the saucer instead of the cup. Across the table, my mother smiled like she hadn't heard anything, like the world was calm and everyone was family and nothing bad ever happened behind closed doors. My father leaned his hip against the counter and watched me with a faint smirk, like he was waiting for me to react the way he could predict. Drink it, he said lightly. You look exhausted. I forced a smile and kept my voice soft. I am. He tilted his head. Then stop acting tense. My daughter's fingers tightened around my sleeve. Her little nails pressed into my skin. I looked down at her. She was trying to be brave, trying not to cry, trying not to make Grandpa angry by accusing him out loud. I made a decision in that second. I would not give my father a scene. People like him feed on scenes. I lifted the cup with one hand, not to drink, just to move it, and I set it down again, a little farther away. Then I stood up slowly and reached for my daughter's hand. We're going to run a quick errand, I said, friendly, casual. My mother's smile flickered. Right now? Yes, I said. Right now. My father's eyes narrowed, still smirking. You're being dramatic. I didn't argue. I didn't accuse him. I didn't say the words my daughter had whispered. I simply picked up the cup by the handle, steady as stone, and walked toward the sink as if I was going to rinse it. Instead, I grabbed a clean zip bag from the drawer, slid the cup into it like it was leftovers, and sealed it shut. My father's smirk wavered. What are you doing? Nothing, I said pleasantly. Just cleaning up. My mother stood halfway from her chair, suddenly alert. Why are you taking that? I looked at her like she'd asked something silly. Because it's my cup. My daughter squeezed my hand harder. My father took one step closer. His voice dropped, still smooth but sharper underneath. Sit down, he said. Stop making a mess. I met his eyes and kept my smile. Be right back, I said, like I was talking to a difficult coworker, not my father. Then I took my daughter, my keys, and the sealed cup, and I walked out the front door. I didn't run. I didn't slam it. I didn't look back. In the car, my daughter started breathing fast, little hiccup breaths like she'd been holding panic inside her chest, and it was finally escaping. It's okay, I told her, voice low. You did the right thing. Her eyes were wet. He did it fast, she whispered. He thought I didn't see. I kept my hand steady on the steering wheel. The road blurred slightly because my eyes wanted to burn, but I wouldn't let them. Tell me exactly what you saw, I said. She swallowed. He had a little thing, like a tiny bottle. He opened it and tipped it. And then he stirred. A tiny bottle. I felt my stomach turn cold, but my voice stayed calm. You're safe, I said again. I'm listening. She nodded quickly. He looked at me after, like he knew I saw. That did it. Not the coffee, not the bottle. That look, because it meant intention. We drove straight to the emergency room. Not urgent care, not a family doctor. The emergency room where everything is recorded, everything is timed, everything has a chain of custody. Inside, the air smelled like antiseptic and tired people. The waiting room TV played something cheerful nobody watched. At the desk, I didn't cry. I didn't over explain. I placed the sealed cup on the counter and said, I need this tested. My child saw someone put something into my coffee. The nurse's expression changed instantly. Not fear, not drama, just professional seriousness. Did you drink any of it? She asked. No, I said. Not a sip. Any symptoms? She asked. No, I replied. But I want it documented. She nodded once. Okay, we'll take you back. A doctor met us in a small room with a curtain instead of a door. He spoke gently to my daughter first, asked her name, asked if she felt safe with me. She nodded, eyes glued to my hand like it was her anchor. Then he turned to me. You did the right thing coming here, he said. We'll handle this properly. He didn't touch the cup with bare hands. He used gloves. He sealed it in a larger, evidence-style bag with a label and a timestamp, then called someone I didn't recognize, a lab tech maybe, and said, We need analysis. Priority. The way he said priority made my skin prickle. Is that normal? I asked quietly. He looked at me for a beat, measuring. It's not normal, he said, but it's not unheard of. The important thing is you didn't drink it. He ordered basic checks anyway, because protocol is protocol, and asked me again, calmly, to name who had access to the drink before it reached me. I didn't say, my father tried to poison me. I said, my father handled it when my back was turned. The doctor wrote it down without commentary. Hours passed in that strange emergency room time where nothing happens, and then everything happens all at once. My daughter fell asleep curled against my side. I stared at the wall. I watched the door every time footsteps passed, expecting my phone to light up with my parents' names. When it finally did, I didn't answer. Because I didn't need to, they knew what they did, and they knew why I left. A nurse came in near the end of the afternoon and said, The doctor will be back soon. The lab called. The lab called? I repeated. She nodded, face careful. Yes. A minute later, the doctor returned, but he wasn't alone this time. 2 additional staff members came in with him. One of them carried a folder. The other had that quiet, alert posture hospital security has when they're trying not to alarm anyone. The doctor closed the curtain, looked down at the printout in his hand, and went still. Then he looked up at me. And the tone of the room changed completely. Ma'am, he said quietly, I need to ask you a very serious question. My heart thudded once. Hard. Yes? I whispered. He held the paper tighter, like he didn't want it to shake. Was your father trying to make you sick, he said? Or was he trying to make you look like something you're not? The doctor's question didn't sound like curiosity. It sounded like a warning. Was your father trying to make you sick, he asked? Or was he trying to make you look like something you're not? For a second, I couldn't answer because the truth was, I didn't know which version was worse. I looked down at my daughter. She was half asleep against my arm, her small fingers wrapped around my sleeve like she was afraid I might disappear if she let go. I don't know, I said quietly, but he wanted me to drink it. The doctor nodded once, then glanced at the printout again. The paper didn't shake in his hands, but his face had changed, like he'd crossed from concern into protocol. He lowered his voice. The lab found a substance in the coffee that isn't food, he said. It's consistent with a medication meant to impair alertness. Impair alertness. A clean phrase for something ugly. My throat went dry. So, if you had consumed it, he interrupted gently, you could have appeared confused, unsteady, possibly sedated. It could have been interpreted as intoxication or instability. I stared at him, and suddenly, my father's behavior at the table made sense in a way that made my skin go cold. The smirk, the insistence. Drink it. You're exhausted. Stop acting tense. Like he wanted me to cross a line where I couldn't control what my face looked like or what my words sounded like he wanted my body to betray me. Do you have a prescription for anything like that? The doctor asked. No, I said, nothing. Any history of fainting, panic attacks, substance issues, right? He asked. Careful, not accusing. No, I repeated. None. He nodded again. Okay. Then he looked at my daughter. Sweetheart, he said softly, can you tell me what you saw? Just with your words. My daughter swallowed. Her eyes flicked to me, asking permission without speaking. I squeezed her hand. You're safe, I whispered. Just tell the truth. She took a shaky breath. He had a tiny bottle, she said. He poured it when Mom wasn't looking. Then he stirred. The doctor didn't react emotionally. He wrote it down, precise and quick. Then he turned to the staff member beside him, the one with the folder. I need this documented as a patient safety incident, he said. And I want hospital security notified. Not because she's in danger here, but because the person involved may attempt contact. My stomach tightened. He might come here? The doctor's expression didn't soften. People who do this, he said carefully, often try to control the story afterward. Control the story. My father lived for that. He didn't just want outcomes. He wanted the narrative that made the outcome look justified. I felt a hot, calm anger rise in my chest, but I kept my voice steady. What happens now? I asked. The doctor glanced at the printout again as if he wanted to choose words that wouldn't scare my daughter. Two things, he said. One, we keep the sample sealed and documented. Chain of custody stays intact. Two, we make a report. A report to who? I asked. He hesitated, just a fraction, then answered honestly. Depending on jurisdiction, he said, law enforcement may be notified because this involves a child witness and potential tampering with a drink. My daughter flinched at the words. I stroked her hair without looking away from the doctor. Okay, I said. Do it. One of the staff members stepped out to make calls. The other remained near the curtain, watching quietly. The doctor lowered his voice again. I need to ask you something else, he said. Does your father have any reason to want you to appear unfit? Confused? Dangerous? I didn't answer right away, because the worst part wasn't that I had reasons. The worst part was that I had too many. My father had been pushing at the edges of my life for years, my home, my finances, my choices, always with the same smile, always with the same message underneath. You're not in control, I am. And lately, he'd gotten more direct. He'd been hinting that I was too emotional, that I was not stable, that maybe my daughter would be better with family support. Family support. What he meant was, under his roof, under his rules. He's been trying to get access to things, I said carefully. Money, decisions, my daughter. The doctor's eyes sharpened. Custody? I swallowed. Not formally, but he's been laying groundwork. The doctor didn't need more. He nodded once, like he'd heard the same shape of story before. Then your instinct to come here immediately was right, he said, because if you had consumed it and then behaved differently, it could have been used against you. A chill ran through me. My phone buzzed in my pocket like it was answering him. I pulled it out and saw my mother's name on the screen. Then another buzz. My father. Then a text from my mother. Where did you take her? Answer now. Another from my father. You're going to regret this little performance. Performance? He was already framing it as drama. I didn't respond. I just showed the doctor the screen. His jaw tightened slightly. Save those, yeah, he said. Don't engage. A minute later, the curtain moved again and a man stepped into the room, not in a white coat. Hospital security. Calm, steady posture, hands visible. Eyes scanning everything in a way that told me he'd already been briefed. Ma'am, he said quietly, I'm here to ensure no one approaches you or your child without your consent. Has anyone tried to contact you in person yet? Not yet, I said. He nodded. If your father appears, we won't let him in. My daughter tightened against me, suddenly awake again. Is Grandpa coming? She whispered. No, I told her, brushing her cheek with my thumb. Not here. The doctor leaned in, voice low. One more thing, he said. If your father intended to make you appear impaired, he may also try to create a record by calling someone first. My stomach sank. Calling who? I asked, even though I already knew. The doctor didn't answer. My phone did. A new number flashed on my screen, unknown. I answered, heart steady but cold. Hello? A woman's voice came through, professional and careful. Hi, she said. This is Child Protective Services. We received a report that you may be impaired and unable to safely care for your daughter. My blood went ice cold because my father wasn't trying to win an argument. He was trying to take my child. And then she added quietly, like she didn't want to alarm me but couldn't avoid the truth. And the report says there's an urgent concern because you were seen leaving with a cup and acting unstable. And your father is waiting to speak with us. For half a second, I couldn't hear anything except the blood rushing in my ears. CPS, I repeated, low. You received a report. Yes, the woman said carefully. We're obligated to follow up. Are you currently with your child? I looked down at my daughter, who was staring at me with wide eyes like she could feel danger even when she couldn't name it. Yes, I said. We're in the emergency room. A doctor is with us, and I have documentation. There was a small pause on the line. Okay, the CPS worker said, tone shifting slightly, still official, but less suspicious. Can I ask why you're in the ER? I kept my voice steady and factual. Because my child witnessed my father put something into my coffee, I said. I brought the drink here sealed. The lab tested it. The doctor documented the result. Silence. Then the CPS worker spoke again, slower now. You're saying you didn't drink it, she clarified. I didn't, I replied. I left immediately. Do you have any history of impairment? She asked. No, I said. Any history of domestic violence or substance issues in the home? She asked. No, I repeated. But I do have a history of my parents trying to control me, and I have the messages. The CPS worker exhaled softly. Okay, she said. I need to speak with the medical staff where you are. Can you provide the nurse's station number? Yes, I replied. And you can speak with the doctor in the room right now. I looked at the doctor. He had been listening, his face tight, eyes focused. He stepped closer and held out his hand. I put the phone on speaker and handed it to him. This is Dr. Patel, he said calmly. I'm the attending physician. The CPS worker's tone changed immediately. More precise, more serious. Doctor, she said, we received a report of caregiver impairment and unsafe removal of a child. The reporting party claims the mother is unstable and the doctor cut in, polite but firm. There is no evidence of impairment, he said. The mother presented a sealed beverage sample. The lab found a sedating substance consistent with medication. She did not ingest it. This is documented. A beat of silence. Then the CPS worker said quietly, You're saying the beverage was tampered with? Yes, the doctor replied. And a child witnessed it. Another pause. Is the child safe with her mother? The CPS worker asked. Yes, the doctor said immediately. The mother acted protectively and appropriately. She came here for documentation and safety. The CPS worker went quiet again, long enough that I could picture her writing, recalibrating, seeing the shape of the situation for what it was. Then she said carefully, Doctor, do you have concerns about the reporting party's behavior? The doctor didn't hesitate. I have concerns about retaliation and coercion, he said. Hospital security is involved. The CPS worker exhaled. Okay, she said. Thank you. We will redirect our response. Redirect. That word felt like a door opening. The doctor handed the phone back to me. The CPS worker spoke to me again, her voice different now, less accusatory, more alert. Ma'am, she said, who made the report? I didn't guess. I know, I said calmly. My father. She paused. Is he with the child's grandfather? Is there another caregiver involved? No, I said. He's the child's maternal grandfather. He's the person who tampered with the drink. Silence again. Then she said, low, "Do you have the name and address where this occurred?" "Yes," I replied. "And I have text messages from him and my mother from minutes ago." "Save everything," she said. "Do not respond, and do not allow them access to your child." My daughter's small hand squeezed mine. I kissed the top of her head slowly, keeping my face calm for her. Then the CPS worker added something that made my stomach tighten again. "We also received a second call," she said, "from someone claiming to be your mother. She said you were mentally unstable and that your father has video proof." Video proof. I felt a cold anger bloom in my chest. "Of what?" I asked, voice steady. "She claims you left the house in a panic," the CPS worker said, "and that you were threatening and irrational." I almost laughed, but it came out as breath. Of course. My father tried to drug my coffee and then tried to film my reaction to make me look unstable. And my daughter had been the witness that ruined his plan. "Ma'am," the CPS worker continued, "we may need to do an in-person safety check. But based on the medical verification, it would be focused on support and documentation, not removal." Support and documentation. That's what I wanted. A record. A paper trail that would outlive my father's charm. "Okay," I said. "I'm here. And the hospital can confirm everything." The CPS worker's voice stayed calm. "Do you feel safe returning to your residence tonight?" she asked. I hesitated because I didn't know. If my father was willing to tamper with a drink in front of a child, what else was he willing to do when his plan failed? "I don't know," I admitted. "Then do not return to that house," she said firmly. "Stay where you are safe. If you need emergency placement or a protective order, we can coordinate with law enforcement." Protective order. Law enforcement. The words sounded unreal, like they belonged to other people's lives, but my life had just been dragged into them. As if on cue, my phone buzzed again. A new text from my father. "CPS is coming. You're done." I stared at the message. Then another from my mother. "We're taking her before you destroy her." My hands went cold. And then the nurse at the door spoke softly, eyes wide. "Ma'am," she whispered, "there's a man at reception asking for you by name." My stomach dropped. "Is he family?" I asked. The nurse hesitated. "He says he's your father," she said, "and he's insisting he needs to speak to your doctor because you're having an episode." My daughter's breath hitched. I stood up slowly and felt my whole body go rigid. Because my father hadn't just tried to poison a drink. He was now trying to walk into a hospital and rewrite the story in front of professionals. And if I handled this wrong, if I cried, if I shook, if I raised my voice, he'd use it. So I did the only thing that protects you from someone like him. I reached into my bag, pulled out my phone, opened the camera, and hit record. I held my phone low, recording without making it obvious. Not because I wanted drama, because I wanted truth with a timestamp. The nurse hovered near the curtain, unsure what to do. "It's okay," I told her softly. "Please just don't let him come back here." Her eyes flicked to my daughter. She nodded and stepped out to speak to someone. The doctor looked at me. "You're doing the right thing," he said quietly. "We'll handle this." Hospital security was already in motion. I could hear footsteps and the soft radio murmurs outside the curtain. My daughter clung to my side, small and trembling. "Is Grandpa mad?" she whispered. "He's not coming in," I said, kissing her forehead. "You're safe." Then my phone buzzed again. CPS. I answered, voice controlled. "He's here," I said before she could speak. "My father is at the hospital reception demanding access." The CPS worker's tone sharpened instantly. "Do not let him near your child," she said. "Put hospital security between you and him. I'm contacting law enforcement as well." I swallowed. "Okay." The doctor took my phone for a moment and spoke directly into it, calm, clinical. "This is Dr. Patel. The patient and child are safe. The reporting party has arrived and is attempting contact. Hospital security is engaged. The CPS worker didn't hesitate. Doctor, please document his presence and statements, she said. We need that. Document his presence and statements. That word, document, was my lifeline. Because my father's power wasn't physical strength. It was the ability to perform concern so convincingly that people doubt you before they doubt him. The curtain shifted and a security guard stepped in. Middle-aged, calm, no emotion on his face. The kind of person you trust because he isn't trying to be a hero. Ma'am, he said quietly, your father is at reception. He's demanding to see you and the doctor. We told him no, he's refusing to leave. The doctor's jaw tightened. What exactly is he saying? The guard checked his radio, then replied. He's claiming you're unstable, he said. He's telling staff you're impaired and that you kidnapped your own child. Kidnapped. My skin went cold. Because that word isn't just an insult, it's a lever. A word designed to trigger a response from systems, police, CPS, hospital protocols. The doctor looked at the guard. He's not coming back here, Yeesh, he said firmly. The guard nodded. Not unless you authorize it. I don't, the doctor said. My father's voice suddenly rose in the hallway outside, muffled but loud. I have rights, he shouted. That's my granddaughter. My daughter flinched so hard she almost cried. I kept recording. My hand didn't shake. I refused to give my father even 1 second of evidence that I was losing control. The doctor looked at me, voice low. Do you have any restraining order? He asked. No, I said. Then we create one, he replied, calm. He stepped out briefly to speak with reception, while the security guard remained near our curtain like a wall. A minute later, the doctor returned, face tight. He's escalating, he said. He's claiming he has proof that you're unsafe. He says he's going to call police. Again. Again, of course. He'd already called CPS. Now he wanted police, too. He wanted multiple agencies, multiple records, multiple chances to label me unstable. But he'd miscalculated one thing. He didn't control the lab results. He didn't control the chain of custody. He didn't control the witness sitting beside me, small, terrified, but honest. And he didn't control how hospitals treat threats when there's documentation. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Open the curtain, we're here. Then another message from my mother. You're embarrassing the family, give her to us. I stared at the words and felt something settle in my chest. This wasn't about love. This wasn't about safety. This was about possession. My daughter. My obedience. My silence. A knock sounded at the curtain frame. Gentle, official. The security guard lifted the curtain slightly and a uniformed police officer stepped into view. He didn't come in aggressively. He didn't treat me like a suspect. He looked at my daughter, then at me, and kept his hands visible. Ma'am, he said calmly, I'm Officer Ramirez. We got a call about a possible domestic situation. I nodded. Thank you for coming. His eyes moved to the doctor. Doctor, can you confirm whether she appears impaired? The doctor answered immediately. She is not impaired, he said. We have documented evidence of attempted drink tampering. She acted appropriately and brought the sample in sealed. The officer's expression changed slightly, not shock, but focus. Who tampered with it? He asked. I didn't point dramatically. I didn't rage. I kept it clean. My father, Hiker, I said. My child witnessed it. Officer Ramirez looked down at my daughter gently. Sweetheart, he said softly. Did you see something happen to your mom's drink? My daughter's lip trembled. She glanced at me. I squeezed her hand once. It's okay, I whispered. She nodded, swallowing hard. Yes, she said quietly. He poured something. I saw it. The officer's jaw tightened. He looked back at me. Is your father here at the hospital? He asked. Yes, I said. At reception. The officer nodded once, and something in his demeanor shifted. Less checking a welfare call, more addressing a threat. I'm going to speak with him, he said. Do you want contact with him? No, I said immediately. None. He nodded. Okay. Then he asked the question that changed the whole direction of the night. Do you feel safe going back to that house? I looked at my daughter and felt my voice go colder. No, I said. Officer Ramirez turned to the security guard. Keep them here, he said. No one approaches them. Then he looked at me again. Ma'am, he said, I'm going to ask your father one direct question, and based on what he says, we may take action tonight. My stomach tightened. What question? I asked. The officer's eyes were steady. I'm going to ask him, he said, why he came to a hospital insisting his daughter is unstable when the lab result says her drink was tampered with. He paused. And if he lies to me here, on camera, with hospital staff listening, his voice dropped. That becomes a very different situation. And as he stepped out, I heard my father's voice rise again in the hallway, loud, angry, performative. She's lying. She's always been unstable. Then a second voice joined, my mother's, sharper and desperate. We're the grandparents. We have rights. And in that moment, I realized my father had walked into the wrong building to try his usual game because hospitals don't care about charm. They care about documentation. And I had it. From inside the curtained room, I could hear the reception area like it was a stage down the hall. My father's voice was loud and rehearsed, every sentence designed for an audience. My mother's voice was sharp, pleading, indignant, and underneath both of them was the same message. We own this. We own her. We own that child. Officer Ramirez didn't raise his voice. I couldn't hear his words clearly at first, just the calm rhythm of questions. Then my father's voice spiked. How dare you talk to me like that? I'm her father. A pause. Then Officer Ramirez's voice cut through, clearer now. Sir, he said, I'm going to ask you again. Why did you come to this hospital claiming your daughter was impaired when the physician has documented a contaminated beverage sample? Silence, just a beat. Then my father did what he always does when trapped. He tried to flip the narrative. She contaminated it herself, he shouted. She's doing this for attention. She's mentally unstable. The officer interrupted him, firm. Sir, he said, the sample was sealed on arrival and handled by staff. There's documentation. My father's voice turned slick, lower. Look, he said, she's always had episodes. We're worried about the child. We only want what's best. Another interruption. What's best, Officer Ramirez said, is that you do not approach them. Then I heard movement. Footsteps, radios, the sound of security shifting position. And then my father's voice changed. Not calmer, sharper. You can't stop me from seeing my granddaughter. A pause. Then Officer Ramirez said something I didn't expect. I'm not stopping you, he said. A judge will. For a second, the air felt still, even through the curtain. My daughter was pressed against my side again, eyes wide, listening to sounds she didn't understand but felt in her bones. I kept my phone recording. Then I heard Officer Ramirez ask the question that mattered most, the one that turns a story into a case. Where's the container you used? He said. To pour that substance into her drink? My father laughed. Too fast. I didn't pour anything. A pause. Then the officer's voice went colder. Your granddaughter told us she saw a small bottle, he said. And the physician's report says the substance is consistent with a sedating medication. Silence. Then my mother's voice, panicked, rushing. We don't know what she's talking about. She's lying. That wasn't denial. That was fear. The kind that shows up when people realize the room is no longer controlled by family hierarchy. Then I heard the officer say the sentence that made my stomach go tight with vindication and dread at the same time. Sir, he said, hospital security reviewed camera footage at reception. You arrived here demanding access and claiming she was unstable. That's documented. Camera footage, not my word against his. Then the curtain shifted, and Officer Ramirez stepped back into the room. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp. He looked at me first. Ma'am, he said quietly, I'm going to be honest. Based on the lab documentation and the child's statement, this is beyond a family dispute. I didn't speak. I just nodded once. He continued. I asked your father to consent to a search of his vehicle for the bottle, he said. He refused. My heart thudded once. And then, he added, he tried to leave. Leave. Of course he did. That's what people do when the story stops obeying them. Officer Ramirez looked at the doctor. Doctor, I need a copy of your report, he said, and the chain of custody documentation. The doctor nodded. It's ready. Then Officer Ramirez looked back at me. CPS is dispatching an on-call worker, he said. Not to remove your child. Based on what we have, you acted protectively. They're coming to document and to establish a safety plan that keeps your father away. A safety plan. A paper shield. The kind my father couldn't charm his way through. My daughter's eyes filled again. Am I in trouble? She whispered. I crouched to her level, voice soft, steady. No, I said. You saved me. She swallowed hard. Is Grandpa going to be mad? I kissed her forehead. Grandpa made a choice, I said quietly. Now adults are handling it. Officer Ramirez stepped closer. I need you to make a decision right now, he said. Do you want to press charges? The words hung in the air. For years, I'd been trained to avoid that, to keep it inside, to protect the family image. But my father had crossed a line in front of my child. He didn't just try to control me. He tried to make me appear impaired so he could take my child. That was not a misunderstanding. That was intent. Yes, I said. I do. Officer Ramirez nodded once like he'd expected it. Okay, he said. Then here's what happens tonight. You and your child leave through a secure exit. You do not return to that house. We'll escort you. The sample stays with the hospital under chain of custody. CPS will document the child's statement. And we will file a report. He paused. And your father will be told explicitly that he is not to contact you or approach your child. I felt my chest tighten, not with fear, with the weight of finally saying it out loud. Good, I whispered. The CPS worker arrived an hour later, calm, tired, human. She spoke gently to my daughter, recorded her statement in a child-safe way, and didn't once make her feel guilty for telling the truth. She looked at me afterward and said quietly, You did everything right. Then she handed me a paper with a case number and an after-hours hotline. And the most important line, no contact, no unsupervised interaction. Do not disclose your location. When we finally left the hospital, it was dark outside. The air felt colder, sharper, cleaner. Officer Ramirez walked us to the car like we were evidence that needed protecting. Before he closed the door, he looked at me and said one last thing. Ma'am, your father kept repeating, she's unstable. I stared at him. And, I asked. The officer's voice stayed calm. And that's exactly why he wanted you to drink it, he said. Because if you looked unstable, no one would believe you. I sat there for a moment after he walked away. My daughter asleep in the back seat, her small face finally relaxed. And I realized something that made my throat tighten. My child wasn't just a witness. She was the reason I was still in control of my own life. My father wanted a story where I looked impaired, emotional, unsafe. Instead, the only story on record was simple. A 6-year-old told the truth. A hospital sealed the evidence, and my father lost his power the moment the truth became a file.